everyone. I hope you enjoy this little intro. That's a tribute to my VC pal Miguel Silva, who has started to make his own videos, and he's in Portugal. If you can go and check out his videos, I'll leave a link to his channel. And his last video, which was like yesterday or something, he had a segment of him riding a bike. It was beautiful. And so, well, I ride as well, as you can see there. I'm a keen rider, but I decided to film at my front garden. You know, I've got a front garden and back garden, so I hope you enjoy the vibes. We're still in lockdown central here in Australia, and so you can't do very much. But I play records and I watch movies and I try to make the most of it. Thank you for joining me on the live stream on Sunday morning. I'll do another one again this Sunday coming at 7 a.m. Melbourne time, so that gives you a time that you can work out with the magic of the internet. And I'm going to show you 20 records as per usual. And as I was giving a tribute to Miguel Silva, I'll continue. Here's a record that I played today. It is Espírito Invisível by the band Mulher e Fedada, and they're a band from Lisbon in Portugal, and that's why I'm showing this, because Miguel is from Portugal, and he made a video. His first video was about Portuguese rock and pop and folk and sort of post-punk. If you watch his first video, he talks all about it. When I went to Lisbon in 2016, I bought this off a recommendation from a record store, and I love it. This is the second record. It's got a little bit of it's a new wave-ish record, a little bit of a Talking Heads vibe at times. It's kind of a little bit Zolo as well, kind of crazy music. They sing in various languages. They remind me a bit of a French band Lerita Mitsuko, for those of you who have heard of Lerita. Early 80s band. Very highly recommend that you take a listen. It's a great record. And the first record is, equally as good, maybe some would say a little better. Some electronic music, like a little electronic segment. Here is White Noise, the project by David Forhouse, English, synth wizard. This is a classic, almost you'd say must-have. It's kind of like a krautrock record, but made in England. It was released originally on Island Records. Do I need to take the Island record label? I think it's close to being an original. I think it may be an original. It starts with the amazing Love Without Sound, composed by Delia Derbyshire, and obviously she features on this. She was one of the BBC radiophonic workshop composers. The sounds that brought you things like Doctor Who. The queen of Moog and modular synth in England, really. Killer record, White Noise. I highly recommend that you take a listen. And the second side is Phase Out, this kind of like sidelong freak out. And there's this song on this in there where you've got basically people orgasming. It's kind of weird the first time you hear it. It's like, whoa, what are they doing? Staying with an English act, this is Global Communications. There we go. The album is called 7614. And well, it's called 7614 because it's 76 minutes and 14 seconds, I think, of music. And the tracks are actually named after the amount of time that they take each. This is a band from, I think they're from Gloucestershire, I think, or somewhere in the west of England, Bristol maybe. And they're made of two guys, Tom Middleton and Mark Pritchard. And this is their album from 1994, which is an ambient techno record, down tempo record. At times, it reminds me a little bit of Daft Punk, early Daft Punk, or early Air as well. There's obviously no vocals; it's just all instrumental. But at times, I was reminded of real sort of like French touch grooves on this. But I highly recommend this. It's a beautiful ambient record. You can just zone out to it. It's it's probably maybe one of the key recordings of that genre, really. Staying with electronic of a different kind, here is the fantastic Dreamtime Return, Steve Roach. Steve Roach, electronic musician, used to be a motorbike rider, for a little bit of trivia. He was like a professional professional motorbike rider. I think maybe he was doing jumps, not like racing motorbikes, but like where you do these like huge jumps. And then he just abandoned it and became enamored with synths and electronic music. And this is like, it's very far into his discography. I'd say it's about his like 10th album or like 8th album, but it's probably really one of his best, if not his best records. I mean, everybody, if you're into Steve Roach, his second album, what's it called now? The Grey Album. The title escapes me, but you'll know which one I'm talking about. His second album is often seen as like his pinnacle, because it's really like textured and deep and dark. Like I use the word ambient a lot, but that's what it is. But I think this is better. It's just in every way more thrilling as a record. You listen to this and you think, he puts you in a mood. I mean, it's meant to be something to do with the Australian outback, the spirit of the Aborigines and that kind of a thing. And you can even look at the song title, Australian Dawn, etc., etc. But as a matter of fact, it's only a very, very, very light feature of the album. What you've got there is more, like a textured ambient record with some evocations of the Australian outback, but there's only like one track with didgeridoo on this, so it's not really exactly as Australian as one may think, but it's a great record. I thoroughly enjoyed. Is this time an Australian ambient record. This is Wetlands by Sam Mallet. Very, very obscure little record, which was reissued. It's a collection that appeared on cassette only in the 1980s, late 70s, 80s. And Sam Mallet was a Mauritian immigrant to Australia who in the 80s made a whole lot of like quiet sort of ambient experimental music and released everything on cassette. And he died a few years ago. I don't know exactly, I can't really tell you when, but the liner notes which I read, I think it was not so long ago, it's just only a few years ago he died. Here's Sam Mallet. There he is. And then this label, which is Music Plastic, decided to reissue his records. The records were all made like in 1985, 86. Yeah, it's beautiful music with a little bit of field recordings in it. Yeah, very serene and very calming, atmospheric music. I recommend this record. It's not essential in any way, shape, or form, but for me, as I live here in Australia, it's a good, it's a good piece because I collect that sort of stuff anyway. Here is a bunch of records from this year. 3 new records that I got recently. And I can safely say that this record is my favorite record this year so far. I mean, hands down. If I'm going to recommend you a new record this year, it's going to be this one, Black Country New Road. There are a bunch of young dudes from London, and I mean, I love a lot of things about this. One, the package is extraordinary. Comes with this kind of fake type of magazine. It looks like a catalog from a a clothing brand or something you would find on like I feel like it's an Instagram a collection of pictures or something with the lyrics, and this was issued on Ninja Tune. And let me talk about the music though, because talking about the package is not really what I do normally. But I just love what they've done with this. They've really, they look at this picture here, how just totally amazing that it is. That is a really really well taken picture, very clever. And so what you've got there is kind of like a post-rock record with very strong Slint influences. I mean, if you like Spiderland by Slint, you will love this. And in fact, in there's a lyric that says, "Oh, I don't want, we're not going to be known as the world's greatest Slint tribute act." I think that's what it says. What does it say? Let me find the lyric because I thought it was so self-deprecating. Just to think I could have left the fair with my dignity intact and fled from the stage with the world's second best Slint tribute act. I think it's genius that they're actually knowing how much they sound like Slint. It's post-rock, math rock type of record, indie rock. I absolutely love this record. It just blew me away. I played it it was on repeat. Black Country New Road from 2021. If you are looking for a great new rock record this year, this is it. Here is a new obscure-ish jazz. Well, of course it's obscure because it's just in Melbourne. This is a Melbourne jazz quartet, and they're called Protomoro. Protomoro, and the album is called Synthesis. And this record is really, really great. Sort of a funky jazz record. These 4 guys, they've been playing together for a long time, and you get a real sense that they're they have a real tight sound. The drums are super funky. The sax lines are a little modal. I think when I first heard it, I thought we might have a new candidate for the next new big thing after Mild Life, but not quite. I mean, it's a beautiful record. It really sounds great, but I don't think it's of that sort of top caliber. But it's a great record nonetheless. I very much enjoyed it, and if you want to sample it, Club X is great, or there's a song called Rita on it. If you want to sample this, I'm not explaining this very well, but you gotta understand, people. I have spent the whole week in front of a computer like this, talking to kids, um, through a camera, and today was just like almost the last straw. Really, 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 really hard to get this through. It's just like, whoa. Here's another great new record. It's called Septet by John Carroll Kirby. It's obviously a septet, as you can see. So John Carroll Kirby is a pianist, composer from LA. And this record, I mean, if you look at even the iconography there, the font, and what it looks like, it reminded me a lot of like a Nucleus record, you know, like the English band Nucleus. You know, it's not far off. It's a funky jazz record. It brings back, you know, memories of, or you know, like it evokes, if you like, um, you know, CTI sort of jazz funk. You know, I think Bob James meets a bit of Hubert Laws. A little bit of Rotary Connection as well, very funky and sort of like very lean bass lines, and you know, maybe a little bit of Lalo Schifrin, a little bit of Quincy Jones, like vintage Quincy Jones. This is a freaking great record, actually, from this year, and it's on Stone's Throw. So I like, as I said, I like to buy records from the year, and I don't buy records overseas. Like, I have a policy where I don't buy anything from other countries. I just buy from here. So often it's just limited to what you've got in front of you, and this is widely available here in Australia, so that's why I bought it. But you know, there's a couple of records that from overseas that I'd like to get from this year, but you know, they haven't arrived to these shores, so you know, I'll have to do without. Continuing. Here is the 1971 segment. As you know, every week I have showcased a record from 1971, and this week my 1971 record that I played was Who's Next by The Who. Interesting story about this record. This is the very first record I bought in Australia. I'm not lying to you. This is the absolute first record I bought. I bought it from a local shop. When I've been here for 18 years, maybe. Yes, 18 years. And my wife at the time, she drove me to. She knew obviously I wanted to see some record stores when we moved here, and she said, "Oh, there's this record store not very far. You know, I'll take you." And that's the very first record that I bought. But aside from this, and at the time it was probably about $10. Now you would pay like 50 or $60 for this US press. Um, uh, it's my favorite Who record. I mean, I'm not terribly big on the Who as a band in general. I like their singles, you know, like Substitute and Pinball Wizard and those kinds of songs. But I'm not, you know, I wouldn't call myself a Who fan. But I think with this, they've really, you know, they just turned the corner. It changed the sound completely. You've got, you know, the synthy sound of Baba O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again. You've got these big, yeah, big synth sounds. It's a great record, you know, and I'd still, you know, it's one of these that I would still go back to on occasions, and I really like. Um, okay, a couple of post-punk records that I played recently. Here is Colin Newman A to Z on Beggars Banquets. This is more or less the fourth Wire record. You know, I mean, you've got obviously Pink Flag, Chairs Missing, and 154. And then, I mean, Wire didn't stop there, but then Colin Newman made this solo record, and I think it sort of follows the logic of Wire. Features obviously Colin Newman as the main guy, but there's also Robert Go to Bed there from Wire. So you know, it's a very Wire sounding record. it's a very uneven record. There's some great moments, and there's some other moments where you just think, oh, it's just all right. Um, I recommend that you take a listen to Alone, the third track. That's just a beautiful kind of spectral sounding track. Um, yeah, post-punky, but kind of edgy, you know. Right, another post-punk record, but this time a modern one. Here is the fabulous, fantastic, amazing Life Without Buildings, Any Other City, the only record basically. This was a band from Glasgow, and they made this in 2001, and really is a great record. And the Lean Over is the well-known track. This is a special edition with, I think there's the single of the Lean Over in there, if I'm wrong. There we go. The Lean Over is really the song that sort of put them on the map. Really sort of, yeah, again, edgy, a little bit. There's a little bit of avant-garde leanings in this music. You know, it's not exactly post-punk, just, you know, guitar and drums and, you know, that kind of attitude. There's more to it. There's a little bit of post-rock in there too, I reckon. They're fronted by a female singer, and she's very energetic. She just brings it to the fore. She's called Sue Thompson, maybe? I don't know. Somebody might correct me. All right. So the next few, I must explain what I'm doing here. I am trying to compile a best of the 2000s video. I made a while back the 30 best records of the 2010s, and I thought, you know, to extend this idea, I'm going to do every decade 30 records that I really love myself, like my own sort of favorite records of that time. And the 2000s are very important musical time for me. I listened to, you know, zillions of records, and I was very much in sort of like indie rock, indie pop mood. So the list is very sort of, yeah, indie heavy. But here are some records that I didn't include in my list of 30 great records. The video, I'll try to maybe record it next week, and because I know, I mean, it didn't take me very much time to make the list, so I really know easily what my 30 favorite records from the 2000s are. I've listened to them a million times. I know them off by heart. I don't need to re-listen to them. You know, it's there. You know, like for the 2010s, it was more complicated because, you know, maybe you haven't had as much time to digest, especially the more recent records. But for the 2000s, it was easy. And so here are some that I omitted in my list. For example, you might be horrified that I didn't include Vespertine in my list, which I've got on CD. I don't have it on vinyl. I've got the first 3 or 4 Björk on vinyl, but not this one. It is a fabulous album, you know, with some amazing songs. What's the opening track? Hidden something. A great opening track on this record. What's it called? Hidden Place, that's right. Yeah, It's Not Up to You. Yes, absolutely. Undo. Just beautiful album. Maybe Björk's, you know, one of the finest achievements for sure. But, you know, it would make my top 50, but not my top 30. So that's where it's just under. But I highly recommend this. Another one that could have made my top 30 but didn't is the first record by Justice, the French duo of I can't remember their name, Gaspard something, and I don't know the names really. I don't know it. I don't profoundly care either. What are they called? Gaspard Auge and Xavier de Ronet. Yes, that's him. Yes, It's cool, isn't it? Yes, if you've never heard Justice, then it's a shame because it's a great record. It came out in 2007, I think. Yeah, that's right. And basically, they're the direct heirs to Daft Punk. You know, if you want to simplify it, really, they have a very sort of this kind of French electro sound, very. When I think of Daft Punk, it's not so much the homework Daft Punk, but more like the Discovery Daft Punk. You know, very big sounding records. You know, it opens with one of the best electro tracks that I can think of, which is Genesis. But DNCE is fantastic. I mean, here's the Sarah segment of this video. Sarah, she loved this Justice album. She really did. She she played the shit out of it. Another one which I really had trouble leaving out of my list was the fantastic, incredible blonde redhead Misery is a Butterfly. Now, if you've never heard this record is absolutely incredible sounding. It's got a kind of like indie rock sensibility, but I can hear some in there some like 60s Gainsbourg sounds. There's some post rock. There's some experimental music. It's just dynamic, rhythmic, and energetic. You know, it's everything I like about music is in this record. Misery is a Butterfly. They're a trio, and I think it's the front woman. She's Japanese. It's Japanese, Italian, and American trio. This is a killer. This is a killer record. It is. Another one is Burial, Untrue, which pretty well known. Kind of the direct descendant of someone like Aphex Twin. You know, William Bevan from London. I think he is, and you know, kind of a bit of a mysterious type. You know, like a Banksy of the electro world. And this is his finest record, undoubtedly from 2007 as well, I think, like the other one, yeah. With Archangel and Ghost Hardware. Ghost Hardware is a great song. It's a very great evening record, Burial. And this is called kind of dubstep, you know, but I don't know what that even means. I mean, you know, I think what you've got there is kind of like all the great music from the 90s and 2000, or like 90s and early 2000s have been sort of fused into a point. Like if you think of Massive Attack and Aphex Twin, which are the two obvious kind of starting points there, if you put them together in a blender, you'd get Burial. 100%, in my opinion, anyway. Here's another 2000s album that I could have included that I really love. It's Grizzly Bear's Vegetimist. Grizzly Bear are a band from Brooklyn, New York, and they keep making some great records. Yellow House was fantastic. This one is maybe the best. Just yeah, a little bit of a mix of indie rock and a real sort of experimental side to them, but not to the point where it just sort of is alienating. It's enough. I mean, you kind of have a Radiohead feel in there. Like it's clearly influenced by Radiohead. Has been an influence. In fact, I think during this tour here, the Radiohead actually took them under their wing because maybe they recognized that they, you know, sonically were similar. 2 weeks is a great song. 2 weeks is a beautiful song on this Grizzly Bear. I'm going to continue. I've got some more. I hope I'm not boring you by now. And now we're entering the jazz segment. These are all jazz records. This is one I played when I woke up this morning. Ira Sullivan. The definition of cheap heat. This record, if you see it for cheap, just buy it. It is dynamite. It's a modal jazz record from 1967. R.S. Sullivan, obviously, you can see him there. He plays the tenor, the soprano, what is it? Tenor sax. That's right. The band, I mean, I can't really say very much about them. I'm not going to pretend. But it's a beautiful modal. There's a cover of Norwegian Wood by the Beatles on this, which is really tasty. It's really like very, very, very well done. But the album as a whole is, yeah, it's dynamite. You know, like it's one of these records that you think, you probably see this and think, oh, you know, fuck it, I'm not going to buy this. But you'd be wrong not to. Couple of Japanese jazz records. This is tremendous. Tremendous. This is a brand new re-release on BBE, Barely Breaking Even. English label. And they put out some, you know, sort of like classic or sort of buried treasure type records from Japan. Unfortunately, I can't remove this awful sticker that's in the middle. Never mind. It's not awful. It's kind of okay, but I tried to remove it, as you can see, but it's I've not been successful. You know, I want to rip everything off. Kosuke Mine first. So as it says, it's their first record. Kosuke Mine, here he is, plays the sax. Another great modal jazz record. This one was pressed at Palace in Germany on 45 RPM. So it's an audiophile press. Not that it made me buy it. You know what I think. But it's nice when you've got a record like this and you pay good money for it, and you know, it sounds good. And you know, my cartridge appreciated the gift of sound on this one. Yeah, a very, very beautiful modal jazz record from 1970. 1970 is the band there. Yeah, Kosuke Mine. I'm not going to pretend that I know a whole lot about this record, but when I listened to it, it was thoroughly enjoyable. Okay, a couple more. And another Japanese jazz record. It is the mind-blowing, beautiful Bamboo Flute by Hosan Yamamoto, and with sharps and flats. And as I was saying, for the Who record being my first ever record that I bought here in Australia, this record has the merit of being the last record that I bought from overseas at the start of last year. It just took about 3 months to arrive here, and it arrived slightly warped, and it pissed me off so hard that I thought, I'm not buying records overseas, I'm buying records locally. And the poetic justice of all this is I could have bought this here for cheaper. True story. But nonetheless, I think it's a great record, despite its slight warp. It was slightly warped because what they did back in the very early days of COVID is that they put every single record, you know, in a heat machine to get rid of the potential bacteria or whatever, and it warped records. Hosen Yamamoto plays the shakuhachi, the bamboo flute. This is a Mr. Bongo 30-year ratio thing. It's a jazz funk record, very much in the spirit of, you know, this Japanese jazz record, a very sort of traditional sounding, meets like a big band and like really, really funky, you know, Lalo Schifrin meets Japan. Very high octane. If that's your thing. If that's not your thing, then too bad. Don't buy it. Listen to it. Here is a couple more. Here is a classic synth funk record from Ohio I think they were Akron, Ohio, maybe, or Dayton or something. Zap, you know, Prince, very, very, very reminiscent of, like when you listen to like Dance Floor, for example, the first track, or Blow That Thing. These songs, they remind me a lot of very early like Grandmaster Flash. I mean, you hear Grandmaster Flash in there big time. Yeah, Dayton, Ohio. That's it. That's right. Zap. There they are. Ghetto funk kind of, just, yeah, mind blowing music. Zap, zap, zap. Zap 2. Actually, it's the second album. Um, yeah, if you like boogie funk, think of Prince, but maybe a little wilder. Um, I'm going to talk about some movies, some films, for the remainder of this video, because I've been doing this a little bit and I'm watching a lot of movies at the moment. I am a movie junkie at times, and I just pulled out this record, and this is because of a movie. So this is James Taylor, One Man Dog, and last week I was rewatching Two Lane Blacktop, which is the movie starring James Taylor and Dennis Wilson, which is a car movie. And I think the main character in the movie is the American road. Really, it is. But I highly recommend Two Lane Blacktop because like James Taylor is so freaking charismatic in there. You just go, he's a silent type. He almost says nothing, but he's just magnetic. And this is the only James Taylor record that I have, and so I just pulled it out and I played it. But it was because the movie inspired me to do so. From 1971, I believe, Two Lane Blacktop, or 1970 maybe. And Dennis Wilson is great in there as well. It's just, yeah, it's a cool movie. And here are two other movies that I watched in the past week, which I want to talk about because I think some people would appreciate. Here is a Robert Bresson record movie, Au hasard Balthazar. It was a Franco-Swedish production. It's the last Robert Bresson movie in black and white. It's from 1968, 66, 68. That's right. And Jean-Luc Godard was quoted saying that Au hasard Balthazar is the world in 1 hour and a half. So when Godard gives you that kind of praise, you just think, wow. This movie is the story of this donkey called Balthazar. It's set in a small village somewhere in the mountains in France. And the story starts with a bunch of kids and this young girl when she's a kid, and it evolves. The story takes us when this girl is 19, 20 years old, and there's a parallel between the donkey and the girl. Both are abused by people, kicked, and the donkey is kicked and unloved and treated badly, and still he survives and he goes on. And it's the same for her. She has to face all these horrors from the men from the village, and it's a very, very deep and very, very highly philosophical tale. This Bresson movie, I think it should be watched by all. And then 2 days ago, I sat down and I watched The African Queen, Bogart and Catherine Hepburn. And I don't think, I want to make a big statement, but I don't think films that good come up very often. The whole premise of this, the plot, the acting, the shooting, the photography is amazing. The chemistry between those two people, the denouement at the end, the final. It's I think I don't know. it's just totally elating, this kind of cinema. Another movie that I watched last week as well was Harold and Maude, which I don't have on DVD. It was just like a streaming thing, and I think it made me believe in mankind again. You know, watching it, I was thinking, my God, you know, I just, you know, it sort of completely opened a window in my head, you know, from 1971. But anyway, I'm just riffing off. I hope you enjoy this installment of blah 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 plus more blah blah blah. I will see you on Sunday morning if you dare to enter the big star territory. I hope you're well. Take care and leave me some comments. You know, under the video there, talk to me. Talk to me. I respond to absolutely everyone. Okay, I respond to all. So please leave me a comment. I just love it. I don't care about subscribers. I don't care about how many likes I'm getting. I care about interaction.